Hello, Dennis here. Welcome to Quack This Way. Appreciate you stopping by. Today I want to talk about a quick video by someone that I follow. His name is YC Imaging on YouTube. That's his channel. And he does great content, right? So he's been started out as a music kind of video guy, he did photography, grew up in the game of making music videos, and is on YouTube. And he does a lot of creative stuff. I don't believe he's a believer. And I could be totally wrong about that, but he does cuss and things like that. But this video, there's none of that in it. But I love what his message is. And it's a message of about a video I just did the other day, and that's just start. Just start. Man. And it's not about starting before you're ready in a sense of a career on YouTube or this type of thing, but maybe once you start into YouTube, once you start in your creative process, maybe you're a writer, whatever you are, he's talking about just start the process. You know, as a creator, we don't feel like doing it all the time. We don't always feel like making a video. We don't want to make a script. Or once we start thinking about how much work it is, it can demotivate us from really kind of getting into it. But he talks about just doing it. And I love the technique he used for this video. He recorded himself on audio and then just shot himself kind of in a little cinematic kind of area and just played the audio over himself. So let's take a look at it real fast.
Recording on audio. I've been scrolling through this YouTube video list for a long time. Every time it's time for me to come up with a YouTube video, I scroll through this list that I've made, that I've compiled over the years. And one concept that I wrote down weeks.
First off, how ingenious is this? Okay, so if you are a YouTube creator or you make videos, he has a list, right? So as he comes up with ideas, he writes those ideas down in a list so that he can go back and reference those lists, right? So it's not like, oh, I can't have any ideas. He has ideas. He puts them down. And when it comes time to make a video, he kind of looks through that list and sees what he wants to work on. I love that first, right? Because if we don't have something to work from, we're trying to work fresh every single time. That can be daunting, right? Because we're like, oh, I don't know what to make. And it just encourages us that we'll always have content, right? As you start to write ideas down and put them down, you always have something to come back to. So that's such a great point.
Weeks ago that I always scroll past is just start. All caps between two parentheses. And I've been wanting to not only make this video for somebody else, but for myself as well, because I go through this every single day. Waking up, getting out of the bed, starting to edit, working out. I find myself in a struggle to do a lot of things, and it's not always. Sometimes I'm absolutely thrilled to get to an edit. Sometimes I'm absolutely thrilled to go run a mile or...
This is just being very vulnerable in the sense of sharing what he goes through. And I think that if we're doing something as a hobby, we can forget what it's like to do something as a full-time job. A lot of creators, and I hear, they talk about when they took their hobby, right, something they did part-time and went full-time, it becomes work and it becomes daunting and something you almost don't want to do anymore. That's a realization that, okay, maybe I work a full-time job, I go there and I'm thinking constantly about video making or about film craft, and I want to do that, so I do my spare time, that's what I do. But if that becomes the only thing you do and you have nothing else that you're doing, it can become just like a job where you're like, oh man, I got to get up, I got all this stuff to do, and it become more pressure because it is what makes you the money, it's what you provides for your family, for instance, and that pressure can start to make it daunting and something that you don't really want to get into, right? So keeping that love, keeping it interesting can be difficult, right? But that's why I think his advice here is just get started. And I'm going to jump forward here a little bit of something that he says that I find very profound. So here, let's get back to it.
And when I think about how long this process takes me sometimes, I don't want to do it sometimes. I don't want to do it a lot of the times. It's when it's flowing for us and when we're in that flow state and when we're locked in or when we're just zoned directly in on a project and everything just flows, this is when we want to do it. And I think often as creators, we sit and wait for these moments way too often. And I don't think that these moments happen because we're inspired to do them. I think that these moments happen because we dress for the occasion, we show up every single day. And as long as we continue to do that, something will happen.
Man, can you believe that this situation, what he just said, is such a key point, right? He said that showing up is half the battle, and that sometimes creators will wait for this feeling of being in the groove, or the feeling of being inspired, before they start creating. But what he said is that he doesn't believe that that feeling just comes on, but that feeling comes on when we start to do the work, that we start doing it and moving forward, and then we'll get in that groove. He says 90% of the battle is just showing up. And I know for me, that is something that is totally true. I experienced this just the other day when I went to go film somebody that was going to do a web conference, right? We were filming. He did the class through Zoom, but I set up some cameras so I could edit later for an online course. And he got dressed to teach, right? And his wife kind of gave him a hard time about it, but he put on his clothes, he put his shoes on. He was just putting himself in the occasion like he was going to teach, even though he was doing it on the computer, because he knows that that would put him in the right mood, put him in the right situation, that he would be able to teach more effectively, basically getting him in the groove. Think about all the people that work from home right now. If you get up in your PJs and you sit down at the computer, your mentality is not, it's work time, right? Your mentality is, it's still chill at home time. So your productivity probably is not at the same scale as it would be as if you got dressed like you were literally going into work. I know that it's great to feel comfortable, and sometimes we think we can get in the groove, or maybe when we do schoolwork, if you're in class, sometimes it's nice to be in comfortable clothes when you're going to study, right? But you know in your mind that that's study time, which is different than work time or being in class time. And so our brain can associate with that. So if you're going to create, get ready, put your stuff on like you're gonna create, and start, right? And then that groove will come. Don't wait for inspiration to hit, just get at it. I've heard that many times from writers. They say the same thing. I don't feel like writing, but I'm just gonna write, right? I don't have a story to write, but I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write words down until something hits, and I'm gonna work through this situation and not just wait and wait and wait for some inspiration to hit me to start writing. But when I start writing, inspiration hits. So I just wanted to do this video, encourage you, get started. Don't wait, set up your gear. I know in the course I took with Ruslan that I'm kind of been working through, he talks about very heavily, like, man, leave everything set up. Don't have to set everything up and tear it down every time you're gonna make a video, because that's just like a barrier to entry, right? If you think about like, oh, I gotta set up all this stuff, I gotta move everything, it's gonna make creating so much harder. But if it's already set up, you're able to just sit down, you have your plan, and you go for it. Right? You stream it. I would say schedule it, right? If you can, have a schedule, work on your stuff, know what times that you're going to block out, that you're going to work, whatever it is. I'm kind of doing the live streaming style of video editing, so I don't have to edit later. I just do it all live, and then boom, one take, and I'm done. But I will tell you a secret. Right now, I'm just recording this, and I did mess up and have to start over in the middle because I messed up my camera changes. But as I get better, as I practice, I'm not going to have to edit, and it's going to be great. Making video creation so much easier. So I just want to say, if you haven't hit up YC Imaging, he has a lot of cool stuff from an editing perspective. May not work with live streaming style, but he does come up with some creative stuff. And warning, he does cuss and talk about some rough stuff sometimes, so to be warning there. So with that, I just want to say, see you around. God bless.